They spent 13 months demonizing this industry.
Their lack of judiciousness led them to do serious injury.
You could not win against the New York Times because New York Times is so giant media. Nail salon is pretty easy to open the business compared to other business. Over the last 28 years, it grew a lot.
Donald Yu is the chairman of the Korean American Nail Salon Association, which was founded in 1987, at a time when the nail business was just beginning to emerge out of beauty parlors as its own industry.
There are still mom and pop shops. They work hard, they work long hours, they save money to live better.
Nail salons also provide vital employment opportunities to thousands of recent immigrants, many of whom live here in Flushing, Queens. And that's where the controversy begins. In May of 2015, the New York Times published a blockbuster story arguing that those basement prices for mani-pedis are in the backs of immigrant workers earning wages as low as $10 per day. Immediately after the story appeared, Governor Andrew Cuomo reacted.
Today we're starting a multi-agency effort to help women who work in nail salons. They are extorted and they are victimized. Many of them don't even get paid the minimum wage.
Actually, that's not true. Nail salon workers are skilled employees whose labor is in high demand, and they have a good deal of bargaining power. The New York Times story that inspired Cuomo's crackdown broadly mischaracterized the nail salon industry, and some of the men and women the reporter spoke with say she misquoted them or misrepresented their businesses. The author and editors of the New York Times story declined Reason's interview requests.
I read the story and talked to my wife about it. We both felt that the story was just so far from the world that we've experienced over the last 12 years that it was wrong.
Richard Bernstein spent 24 years at the New York Times, serving as a bureau chief in Berlin and Paris, a book critic, culture reporter, and UN correspondent, before leaving the paper in 2006. Bernstein made the difficult decision to publicly criticize his old employer's nail salon coverage, with an article published in the online edition of the New York Review of Books in July. His knowledge of the industry is based on the first-hand experience of his wife, Jong-Mei Lee, who has co-owned 2 nail salons in Manhattan for the past 12 years.
I can't crawl into the heads of the writer of the story and her editors. I can only assume that they had the best of intentions and the best motives. They early on felt that they had discovered a story of massive injustice, and consciously or unconsciously, they sifted out anything that didn't fit with that narrative.
The main claim of the Times story is that nail salon workers are paid shockingly low wages. One of the primary pieces of evidence offered to support that claim? Newspaper ads. Bernstein pointed out that the Times reporter misrepresented what the classified ads say about the industry.
The story claimed that the Asian language papers are rife with classified ads for manicurists, listing salaries so low you'd think at first that they were typos.
Bernstein found that the Asian language newspapers are actually filled with ads offering day wages of more like $80, $100, and occasionally much more. And these figures don't include tips or commissions, which can sometimes equal or exceed base pay. After Bernstein's article appeared, the Times editors posted 3 examples to support their claim. 2 ads they said offered to pay just $40 per day, and 1 ad offered to pay $40 to $90 per day. But is this really what the ads say? The images the paper provided were too blurry to read, but a look back at the originals reveals that 2 were posted by the same person. According to the salon owner who took out those ads, they don't offer a day wage of $40. They say that a mani-pedi costs $40, and the text of the ads backs him up. He said in a phone interview that the idea was to indicate to prospective candidates that he runs an expensive shop, which means they can earn big tips. The 3rd ad offers a range of $40 to $90 because, according to the salon owner, the $40 was for part-time employees.
And then it goes on to cite a particular ad offering jobs for $10 a day.
What the Times didn't mention is that the ad it was referring to actually offers to pay skilled manicurists $75 per day. Under that, it says that trainees can make $10. But the Times defended its failure to mention that the ad specified that the $10 was for trainees, writing that the paper had confirmed that these were essentially beginning workers, doing the same jobs as others in the salon. But that's not true, according to the man who posted the $10 ad.
他们只是在店里面练习自己的工作，练习自己的技术，练习怎样涂油，怎样去磨手，怎样去剪皮，这3个最基本的动作。
Yoon-Jun Long is the former co-owner and manager of New York City Nail Spa on Manhattan's Upper West Side.
我们不可以让他们碰客人的，因为客人是花钱来的，他花钱我不可以给他一个不成熟的工人去做他的服务，那样对客人是不公平的。
Long says the reason he attempted to train his own workers is that there's a shortage of qualified manicurists in the nail salon industry, so finding people is a constant struggle. And that's precisely why the classifieds are jammed with want ads offering competitive wages.
The classified ads actually disprove the thesis of the Times.
After reading Bernstein's critique and Reason's investigation, New York Times public editor Margaret Sullivan weighed in, writing that the paper went too far in generalizing about an entire industry, and that its findings and the language used to express them should have been dialed back, in some instances, substantially.
And New York Times was distort the facts so much, they spent 13 months to get all the facts to distort, to demonize this industry.
About 5 months after the New York Times series first appeared, nail salon owners staged a series of protests to complain about the paper's inaccurate reporting.
So I think the first article hit May 11th.
Ron Kim is a New York State Assemblyman from Flushing, an area in Queens where many nail salon workers live.
My advice to the community at that time was, let's just calm down. We will be part of the news cycle and people will focus on the next issue. And that wasn't the case.
It kept snowballing. The new state task force that formed in response to the Times' coverage started conducting surprise inspections of nail salons and issuing large fines. These inspections have exposed that many shops don't keep detailed records, and they often pay their workers much of their salaries off the books. This violates New York State's wage and hour regulations, but it doesn't show that workers are being cheated of decent pay.
Workers themselves, they prefer to be paid in cash. But how do you actually prove that, right? Later on, if they get audited. That's not just nail salons. That kind of practice exists in many other sectors.
The labor inspections have also had the unintended consequence of closing off opportunities for immigrant workers.
If a worker is not documented, they now feel uncomfortable hiring them and using them in the store.
1 week you said they have a license, we allow the hire. Second week you come up, you said they don't have a social security number and tax ID number, then we not allowed to hire. Then we got so confused, yes or no? And now so many nail salons short worker.
Over the summer, the pressure on shop owners intensified when Governor Cuomo issued an emergency order requiring every nail salon to purchase what's called a wage bond. It's essentially a form of insurance so that if the government determines that nail salon workers are owed back pay, they have recourse to collect.
法规暂时我不懂，我觉得我为什么要交这个保险的钱啊？有时候我只有我夫妻2个人上班，都是老板，我交什么保险的钱？员工保险。
现在我都不愿意要了这个店，但是你要租这个店的时候，你哪个 deposit 嘛，对不对？有人要我都送给你，我都送了，我都不愿意要了，太难了。
我做员工的时候，我跟我老婆一个人1天上5天班，很自由的，很自由。我为了赚到更多的钱，我们2个开了一个店，想上班就上班，不上班就上班。我现在做老板，真的没办法退掉，我没有退路。我觉得政府逼得我没有退路。
So far, only the Chinese nail salon owners have been protesting. The Korean Association was advised early on not to go up against the Times directly.
What people told us was you could not win against the New York Times because New York Times is so giant media. So we are trying to find other ways to fight.
The Korean Association, along with another industry group, filed a lawsuit in New York State Supreme Court to stop the governor's wage bond requirement.
Just asking the nail salon to purchase the wage bond, we feel that they are discriminating the Asians.
I love the New York Times, by the way. I read it every day, and I worked there for 24 years. I think in this instance, their lack of judiciousness led them to do serious injury.
Assemblyman Kim is one of the only elected officials fighting back against more government regulation for nail salons. And for him, the issue is personal. Kim comes from a first-generation Korean family. His aunt's first job in the country was as a factory worker. Then she became a manicurist and ultimately opened her own chain of successful nail shops.
I want to make sure that people like my aunt right now also has an equal chance to succeed.